Into Sydney, one of the most spectacular cities on earth. Straight ahead of us, the Darlinghurst Courthouse. Built in 1844, this magnificent Greek Revival sandstone building is one of the oldest and most active courthouses in Australia. Its grand columns were designed to project the absolute authority of the law in a colonial city once notorious for its criminal underworld and razor gangs. Today, it stands proudly at Taylor Square, anchoring the vibrant heart of the surrounding neighborhood. Now let's continue where we left off. Spectacular cities on Earth. You are about to explore a city that was built at the edge of the known map, right on the shores of one of the most beautiful natural harbors ever discovered. What grew here in just over 200 years is truly amazing. A massive, colorful city of over 5 million people. Let us start at the very beginning. The history of the continent's name alone is a fascinating story of discovery and European confusion. For centuries, map makers in Europe drew a giant, hypothetical landmass at the bottom of the globe, calling it Terra Australis Incognita, the unknown southern land. Straight ahead of us, as you travel down Oxford Street, you are driving along the historic route of the world-famous Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras. First held in 1978 as a fierce civil rights protest, it has grown into one of the globe's largest pride celebrations. Along this vibrant strip, you will pass iconic venues like the Columbian Hotel, a historic pub that has long served as a safe haven and beloved gathering place for the community. Now let's continue where we left off. Incognita, the unknown southern land. When early Dutch explorers finally mapped parts of the western coast in the 1600s, they simply named it New Holland. Later, when British Captain James Cook claimed the eastern coast in 1770, he named that side New South Wales. For a while, maps literally showed a continent split in half with two completely different names. It wasn't until the early 1800s that the famous British explorer Matthew Flinders, the first person to successfully sail completely around the continent with his beloved ship's cat, Trim, passionately campaigned to give the entire landmass one unified, beautiful name. He chose Australia, derived from the Latin word for south, and published his famous map while being held as a prisoner of war by the French in Mauritius. Straight ahead of us, Hyde Park South, home to the Anzac War Memorial, a solemn Art Deco tribute to Australians who served in war. Completed in 1934, its bronze figures and reflecting pool create one of Sydney's most powerful public spaces. The pool of reflection mirrors the memorial's geometric profile down its central axis. Now, on your right, the Australian Museum, the oldest museum in Australia, founded in 1827. Behind that grand Italianate facade lies one of the world's most important Indigenous Australian collections, alongside a world-class mineral gallery and life-size dinosaur skeletons. Generations of Sydney schoolchildren have stood here face-to-face with Diprotodon, the elephant-sized marsupial that once roamed Australia during the last ice age. Just next door stands Sydney Grammar School, founded in 1854, one of Australia's oldest and most prestigious independent schools. It has educated generations of prime ministers, high court judges, and Nobel laureates. The sandstone facade was designed by colonial architect Edmund Blackett, the same man behind St Andrew's Cathedral and the original University of Sydney quadrangle. Now let's continue where we left off. Prisoner of war by the French in Mauritius. Imagine sailing across the dangerous, unpredictable ocean in a small, cramped wooden ship for 8 long months, battling scurvy, giant waves, and violent storms, not knowing what you will find at the end of the earth. That is exactly what happened in January 1788. Captain Arthur Phillip arrived here after a grueling journey of 15,000 miles with 11 ships, famously known as the First Fleet. They brought over 1,000 people from England. Now coming up, straight ahead of us, St Mary's Cathedral, the largest Catholic church in Australia. This soaring sandstone masterpiece is built in the English Gothic Revival style, modelled on the great medieval cathedrals of England. Its story began in 1821 with a simple wooden chapel completely destroyed by fire in 1865. The twin spires you see were left off when the cathedral first opened in 1882. They were considered too expensive at the time. The building stood for over a century without them, until the year 2000, when they were finally completed at last. The architect was William Waddell, the same colonial master who designed many of Sydney's grandest sandstone landmarks. St. Mary's is the mother church of the Archdiocese of Sydney and has been central to the city's Catholic life since the very beginning of the colony. Straight ahead of us, the Registrar General's Building, a grand Victorian sandstone structure. It once managed all land titles and birth records for the colony. Today, it houses the Land and Environment Court of New South Wales. On your left, the Archibald Fountain at the northern end of Hyde Park's tree-lined avenue, designed by acclaimed French sculptor Francois Sicard. Now, straight ahead of us, statue of Queen Victoria, monarch for 64 years, and her devoted Prince Albert, the bronze pair that gave its name to an entire era and watches still over the heart of colonial Sydney. You are passing, on your right, the Sydney Mint, built in 1816. During the gold rush, it was converted into a royal. Now, on your right, Sydney Hospital, Australia's oldest hospital, founded in 1788 with the First Fleet. At the gate stands Il Porcellino, a bronze boar from Florence. Tourists rub his nose for luck. Every coin becomes a hospital donation, a 200-year tradition kept alive. Straight ahead of us, Parliament House, New South Wales, the oldest parliament in Australia. It began in 1816 as part of Sydney Hospital. It became the Legislative Council Chamber in 1829. 2 centuries of Australian democracy have been made within these walls. You are passing, on your right, State Library of New South Wales, the oldest library in Australia. In its forecourt stands the bronze statue of Captain Matthew Flinders, the very first navigator to sail completely around this continent. Flinders is the man who gave Australia its name. He chose the word from the Latin for south and championed it for the entire landmass. Look closely at the windowsill behind him, and you will spot Trim, his faithful ship's cat, who survived shipwrecks and uncharted oceans alongside the captain. The library was founded in 1826, and its sandstone walls hold the original journals of the First Fleet. Straight ahead of us, Governor Sir Richard Bourke, one of the most progressive governors in colonial history. He pioneered free public schooling for the colony. He expanded civil liberties for Catholics and Jews. He is honoured today as the founder of public education in New South Wales. Now let's continue where we left off, from England. But here is the crazy part. Most of these people were not brave explorers, wealthy colonists, or scientists. They were convicts. They were ordinary thieves, forgers, and political prisoners sent to the other side of the world to serve their sentences and start a new life simply because British prisons and the rotting prison ships anchored on the River Thames were completely overflowing following the